author, let's take a look back at last week and see if you guys also guess who wrote those books. Let's bring in our resident theological scholar, Margaret Beckenstein. Margaret, hi! Oh, I didn't even recognize you there, Margaret. I thought it's your fancy hat that you're wearing.
I decided to be just a little bit casual and follow in your footsteps, so I took the hat off today.
Well, you're just downright bubbly. Okay, well, here we go. Don't hurt yourself, Margaret. Okay, all right, well, let's see. Margaret, now did you guess who wrote the books of the Bible we were talking about last week? Oh, sure, okay.
As you know, I did give you my answer, and I will read it. The answer to last week's Who Wrote It was Ezra. And if you were as smart as me, you should have also guessed Ezra.
Care to say any more there, Margaret?
He was zealous.
All right, well, zealous, Margaret, that's a word I would use to describe you. Yes, honey.
He was zealous because he was really following in God's ways, and that helped later when reforming the people. Proceed.
Okay, all right, well, you are correct. It was Ezra. Ezra wrote 1st and 2nd Chronicles, which were originally one book, which would have been super long, and so the Septuagint writer split it up so it'd be easier for the people. He also wrote the book of Ezra, and then there might be some history out there that he wrote parts of Nehemiah. That's still not totally sure. So 3 books of the Bible, possibly 4, written by Ezra, but he took great care to chronicle. You can see what I did there?
You're so funny.
He took great care to make sure that all of Israel's history was written down for the people, even us today, that we get to read it. All right, well, since we've got last week behind us now this week we can get ready for a new episode of Who Wrote It? Are you ready?
Yes.
Ew, don't hurt yourself, Margaret. Okay. All right, well, as you folks at home know, you're going to get 3 different clues, and out of those 3 clues, you get to decide who wrote the books we're talking about. Are you ready? All right, well, this author was born to a very famous king. And in fact, he was the 10th son of this king. Now that's kind of odd, because usually the first son gets to be king, but okay, well, there we go. All right, well, this author was born out of a scandal involving his parents.
Are you allowed to talk about that on the air, Gertrude?
Ooh, it's just like my daytime stories I like to watch. All right, and this author also wrote 3 books of the Old Testament. Now, folks have already picked out who wrote 8 of them, and there's only 31 left, so here we go. This author wrote 3 books of the Old Testament, all poetry. He was a poet, and he knew it. All right, folks at home, do you know who we are talking about for this week's Who Wrote It?
I'm so glad that people are watching this show, you know.
Yes, well, Margaret's written down her answer, so can you guys beat our resident theological scholar? Make sure you figure out your answer. You can comment below, or stay tuned until next week when we reveal who wrote it.
Don't forget to join us next week on
Who Wrote It?
Bye.